Manchester United are ready to join the race for Bryan Mbeumo. United have an offer rejected by Barcelona for Fermin Lopez and are in talks with Jonathan Tah's agent. Shock team are interested in Antony. Juventus make a move for Rasmus Hojlund, and United are in talks with one of the best sporting directors around, or are they? This is all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Welcome to the channel. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight into it. So firstly, give us your thoughts on the game and the match yesterday. I'm not going to dwell on it too long. It is where it is. It is what it is. We are where we are. It's all about Thursday. A massively heavily rotated team. Eight players, I think we've kind of rotated, and also a very, very young team as well. It's always going to be a difficult game. I'm just annoyed that actually we were probably architects of our own downfall again, but that's United this season, where we have moments of lack of concentration, where we just can't, where we just have 10-minute spells, where we just completely switch off and forget what we're doing, which is the 10-minute spells where, we conceded all of the goals, ironically, from Brentford. I thought we scored some decent goals ourselves, though, as well. Garnacho, I thought, had a good game, goal and assist. Nice to see Ahmad get back amongst the goals as well in his, first Premier League appearance anyway, since coming back from injury, which showed you what we were kind of missing. But it is what it is. We are where we are. It's all about Thursday. Thursday is the kind of, the be-all or end-all for our season. So we just need to get, hopefully get through to the final from the Europa League. But yeah, give us your thoughts and comments on the match below. Just run through some kind of stats regarding it. So it's 17 years, 156 days. Chido Obi's the youngest player ever to start a Premier League match for Manchester United. That's insane, isn't it, considering our ability to bring through youth team, and that's what United are all about. For Chido Obi to be the youngest ever player to start a Premier League game, fantastic achievement for him. But obviously it does show the lack of depth we have in the forward position as well, where you're relying on the youngest ever player to come in and play a Premier League game. Actually thought second half he did all right, fashioned that chance for himself as well, which was unlucky to be blocked. I was praying for that one to go in, just to kind of give him a bit of a confidence boost as well. First half a little quiet, but we were, very limp going forward in the first half, although we scored a decent goal as well. But fair play to Chido Obi for that. In terms of the youth, Manchester United have named their youngest ever starting 11 in Premier League history. So that was the youngest starting 11 we've ever fielded in Premier League history, which I actually found really, really interesting, considering obviously the Fergie era, the amount of games and big games that we had. I would have thought that there would have been times where we put a younger team out than we did, but nope, that was our youngest ever. And it was the third youngest in Premier League history as well. So with an average age of 22 years and 270 days, Manchester United starting 11 versus Brentford. It's the third youngest any side has ever managed in a Premier League match, behind Borough versus Fulham in May 2006 and Arsenal versus Portsmouth in May 2009. So that's insane. And what do you expect? The third ever youngest team, our youngest ever team, away to Brentford, who are a very physical team. That's not the sort of place you want to go when you're fielding a lot of kind of youth players, and not even just youth players. We did have some senior players on the pitch, but a lot of those senior players are ones that need minutes in their legs, like Mason Mount, Luke Shaw, obviously. So it is what it is. De Ligt only started because he needs to get minutes in his legs as well. And just on De Ligt, that was the biggest blow for me. To see him kind of limp off the way that he did, that looks really, really concerning. That could be, season ending, could be out for the start of next season as well. Obviously, there is no update at the time of recording this video regarding his injury. I'm sure he's having scans and doing all of the kind of medical assessments and that today, but Amram himself was kind of concerned by it. As well. So yeah, that was a big kind of blow. He was walking but limping after the game, without crutches and stuff, according to the Manchester Evening News, but that means nothing, does it? That doesn't mean anything. That was a big kind of blow to see De Ligt come off like that as well. I mean, did he have to start the game? Could we not have played Johnny Evans? Could we not have played Lindelof from the start as well? But then I understand we need to get minutes in his legs to get his match kind of sharpness and stuff, and an injury could happen at any time. It is what it is. It is what it is regarding that. But that was the kind of biggest blow for me. I felt the De Ligt injury. But overall, give us your thoughts in the comments below on the game. Let's go through some transfer news. So, Barcelona have rejected an approach from Manchester United for Fermin Lopez. The Spanish club want over 50 million euros to depart with the midfielder. Now, that came from El Nacional, who are a decent Spanish outlet. I would want to see a bit more credibility, though. personally regarding that, because I think if United had made an offer for a player, there would be a little bit more credibility regarding it. Like it would be like Romano and Laurie Whitwell, people like that would be kind of speaking about it because they're very connected when it comes to United news. But suggesting that United have made an approach for Fermin Lopez. In the report itself, it said the following. So Manchester United were the first to make a move, submitting a €30 million offer for the player. However, the Blaugrana leadership's response has been emphatic. No talks for less than €50 million are contemplated. Although Manchester United's initial offer was rejected outright, United hasn't ruled out returning with a new proposal. So reports in Spain suggesting that United have made a €30 million offer for Fermin Lopez, but Barcelona have rejected it. They want at least €50 million. That's what, £43 million. I think we've offered 28. So if the report is to be believed, would be a decent, like an interesting profile of player to bring in. Does tick a lot of the boxes of what we're looking for. 21-year-old, young, up and coming. We've been linked with him a few times. I remember doing videos in the past around, I think in January and then last summer as well. So there could be some kind of interest. Could be a player that we're interested in. It could just be Barcelona making up stories, putting him in the shop window to get views, because we know Barcelona are in a bit of a financial predicament where they're going to have to sell players to probably register their current players, let alone sign new players, with their financial issues as well. We've never signed players from Barcelona, which is why I always get kind of a little bit skeptical when I hear us linked with Barcelona players, because it just never happens. We get linked with them all the time, but we never sign them. So I think this is maybe one would say, go keep an eye on it for you. But would be an interesting profile of player. Very, very good, good stats, good data. In the top 94 percentile for passes completed, top 75 for progressive passes as well. Did see a stat that he's I think ranked number 1 for players of his age for through balls as well. So has a really good eye for a pass for those who want a bit more of a progressive type midfielder. Top 72 for tackles and blocks as well. So can do the kind of, got a bit of the work rate there as well. Again, would that translate to Premier League though? We'd have to obviously wait and see. But would be an interesting profile of player. 41 appearances, 6 goals, 9 assists. I think he's only played around 1,700 minutes though, which works out to roughly 19 games. So he's not like not one that's playing regularly. So he's just like a sub, to make that many appearances but have less minutes. But still good stats. 6 goals, 9 assists in effectively 19 games. What it equates to with his minutes is actually not too bad, and is a player that can play in multiple positions as well, so would fit the mold of being someone maybe you could bring in as an 8 or as a rotation option for one of the 10s, as Eriksen replacement, I would kind of say. Not a bad profile, interesting profile of player, one that we have been linked with, as I said before. I just want to see a little bit more credibility personally, but give us your thoughts on Fermin Lopez in the comments. Do you think he'd be a good shout, bad shout? Let us know below. I'm sure you will. Let's move on to some other transfer news. So Manchester United are ready to join the race for 60 million rated Bryan Mbeumo. United's interested in Mbeumo is independent of the Cunha deal. Now that came from Mike McGrath, who's a decent source actually as well, works for the Daily Telegraph. So that's an interesting report suggesting that United are interested or in the race for Mbeumo, £60 million, independent of the Cunha deal. So, could United be doing a madness where we sign Cunha and Mbeumo? I mean, that would be insane. I don't know if we've got the funds available to do that when we do need other positions strengthening in the team. Whether that could be, I mean, if we don't get Delap though, let's say Delap goes to Chelsea, could you play Cunha as a striker and then get Mbeumo in as your kind of 10? That's not beyond the realms of impossible. I just think, I'd worry about the budget-wise, because we do have other positions in the team that we need to strengthen. We need midfielders, we need a goalkeeper, we need centre-halves. There's so much that needs to be done. Is it kind of cost-effective to spend effectively 120 million on Cunha and Mbeumo? I mean, I would do it. I'd be all over that. I think that would give us one of the best attacks, in the Premier League if you got Cunha and Mbeumo. But I don't know whether whether he's a priority once we get the Cunha deal done. We'd have to wait and see. But it's a good source suggesting that there might be something in that. Ekram Connor, though, who I would say take with a pinch of salt, that said that Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool and Tottenham are all keen on Bryan Mbeumo, with United showing the most interest. Brentford are expected to ask for around £60 million for him. Romano said that Matheus Cunha still remains Manchester United's main target. As for Bryan Mbeumo, there will be many clubs interested, so it is an open race to sign him. So Romano not necessarily suggesting that United are close or anything, but not dismissing it neither. But Cunha is the main priority target. On Mbeumo, Thomas Frank had the following to say in an interview regarding his future, where he said, if the price is right and that's going to be expensive is coming, then I'm sure the club will be open to it. So this was what he told Sky Sports earlier this season. I've said many times we are a selling club, but at the same time, we have to reinforce that there are 10 clubs in the world who aren't selling clubs. So Thomas Frank suggesting earlier this season in an interview that, if the right price comes, we're a selling club. We will sell our players because that's the kind of model that they are. The same as most teams nowadays are all kind of selling clubs. So he wouldn't be against doing it. It's just it would be expensive. He's only got a year left on his contract, though. £60 million seems a little bit excessive for that, whether there's wiggle room to negotiate that down, because obviously, Brentford are going to ask for top dollar for their player who's performing outstandingly well this season in the Premier League. But then if there's interest from other clubs, maybe not. So we'll just have to kind of keep an eye on it and wait and see how it develops. 38 appearances, 18 goals, 7 assists. I don't know if that includes yesterday, because he did get an assist against us yesterday, but, having an outstanding season, and would definitely be a player that I would be all over bringing in. It's just the question marks. Do we have the budget to bring in Cunha and Mbeumo? Because the report is it's independent, so it doesn't affect the Cunha deal. We're getting that effectively done anyway. This would be independent. Does that mean then if we did, we wouldn't be getting a striker? And could you then just, maybe use Xerxes up front, or potentially Cunha up front as well if we were to kind of go for this move? Again, it all depends on the budget, doesn't it? Does it depend on Champions League? Does it depend on player sales? Will we have to sell a Garnacho maybe to fund that kind of deal? So many question marks around it, and we don't effectively know what the budget is yet because of the Champions League situation, but then also the sales and stuff. So he's an interesting profile of player. We'll keep an eye on it. It's interesting that it's come from a fairly decent source as well. But give us your thoughts. And Mbeumo, yes or no in the comments. Let me know. Let me know what you kind of think regarding that. Now, another player we've been linked with recently is Jonathan Tah. So Manchester United are in ongoing talks with Jonathan Tah's agent, Philip Xavi, to try to sign the defender. And that came from a fairly decent Spanish journalist, suggesting that United are in ongoing talks with Jonathan Tah's agent. The Jonathan Tah one, I mean, with De Ligt's injury now, maybe getting somebody in as an experienced striker that knows the kind of, can play in that back three position, can play centrally in it as well. Very good on the ball, would solve our ball progression issues out from the back as well. Very good ball playing defender. All the other links, though, with like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich were probably favourites because they nearly signed him as a De Ligt replacement when we bought him last season. So it just smell a little bit like United's name being used for clickbait personally, but we'll need to kind of keep an eye on it. It could be one that maybe we're in the race for, but I think it would be expensive in terms of wages. I know he's a free transfer, but he might want a big signing on fee, big wages, all of that stuff. Whether it's plausible or not, I'd want to see a bit more credibility, Rick, personally, because it does feel a little bit like United's name getting used to generate interest, get higher wages, get a better on signing on fee from other clubs. But would be an interesting profile to bring in. I'll keep my ears to the ground for that one for you. Now, there were stories the other day regarding a bit of shenanigans with United buying Alvaro Carreras back and then selling him to Real Madrid. Alvaro Carreras' agent had the following to say regarding those news. I don't know where this news comes from. Everything that has been said is pure fantasy, and as such, it does not deserve any comment on my part. Carreras is doing very well at Benfica and will continue there. So Alvaro's agent basically saying that story was absolute nonsense. Regarding that, though, we still have a 50%, because apparently there is interest from Real Madrid potentially in Alvaro. We've got a 50% sell-on clause anyway in that deal. So either way, there could be a bit of a boost to the budget, even if Real Madrid do buy him directly. But yeah, just thought I'd bring you the update regarding that. So that story, absolute nonsense. Now let's go through some exit talks. So Juventus have made initial contact with Hojlund and decided to move concretely for him. They will look to make the first move soon as they look to beat off competition for him. Now that came from an Italian journalist who's been fairly decent recently regarding like the Hojlund the whole kind of Garnacho situation in January. That's interesting. His book value is £42 million, so we'd need to get at least that for Hojlund to not make a loss on the PSR books. Could there be possibility of a loan with an option to buy or an obligation to buy? Obviously, I do think it depends on what we're going to do with the striker situation, because, obviously we're linked heavily with Liam Delap. If we get Delap in, would maybe obviously push Hojlund further down the pecking order. Would we then maybe look to do a deal to, like I said, either sell him, but we'd need at least £42 million. I don't know whether Juventus would have that sort of money available. Loan with an option to buy or obligation to buy as well would maybe not be a bad shout. But yeah, we need to keep an eye on what happens with Hojlund, because there's no smoke without fire. There is a lot of reports kind of linking him with the move back to Italy. The only thing I would say on that, though, is there was a lot of reports with Xerxes moving back to Italy as well, and that never materialised because he obviously wanted to stay and fight for his place in the end. But whether Hojlund would want to do that, or whether the club would be in a position where they're actually kind of, willing to move Hojlund on, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens in the summer regarding that as well. But again, give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Now, another player that we're looking to move on would be Antony. So Arsenal and Atletico Madrid have inquired about Antony. So that would be interesting. Arsenal, could we see Arsenal going in for Antony? I think he's doing really well. Obviously, Real Betis scored the winner in their last game as well. An absolute banger. The guy just can't stop scoring worldies at the moment. Like, who is this player? It's insane, the difference between, the Antony at United and the Antony that's rocked up at Betis. And he's in a right purple patch at the moment, which is only good for us because it's just increasing his price. And the more teams we do have interested in him, the better value we'll get for him, the more money we can make, and so on and so forth. But would Arsenal really be? I'd be shocked if Arsenal, made a move for Antony, considering how bad he was in the Premier League. I could see why Atletico Madrid and obviously Real Betis want to keep him as well because of his form in that there, and he seems to have found his comfort in playing in the Spanish league. And fair play to him, and credit to Antony, for turning his kind of career down, because it was down the toilet, wasn't it? His career was going down the toilet because of his performances at United, which were absolutely, shit at best. Let's be real. For Antony, he was, talked about the worst ever signing that we've made because of how inept his performances were for us. But like I said, he can't stop scoring goals for Real Betis and is putting in absolutely fantastic performances as well. So yeah, the more teams we get interested in him, in the better. But I can't see Arsenal. I'd be shocked if Arsenal decided to make a move for him, considering how bad he was in the Premier League. And then there's some were also saying that Atletico Madrid wants to sign Antony for Manchester United this summer. United will demand a fee in the region of 40 to 50 million euros, which is 34 to 43 million pounds for Antony. Some we do need to take with a pinch of salt, but there's been multiple reports suggesting that maybe Atletico Madrid might be coming in for Antony. That would be good. They've obviously got the cash that would be able to pay those sort of fees that we would want, which makes us actually a bit of money on Antony as well. Real Betis might come in though as well if they get Champions League and pay for him. So yeah, the more interest we get in Antony, the better it's going to be for us. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now, last night there was a really weird situation that went on regarding Luis Campos. So PSG sporting director Luis Campos is in advanced talks to join Manchester United, and that came from Sasha Tavolieri, who I would, if I was reporting just on this story, I would say take with a pinch of salt, because he can be hit and miss. Not the most credible kind of source as well, but that sent absolutely everybody into a frenzy, because Luis Campos is, probably the best sporting director around. Look at the job he's done at PSG. Outstanding kind of recruitment and getting in not just young players, but good players as well, because I read your comments, I hear what you're saying around United needing experienced players, right? I totally get it. I agree as well. I do think there is an argument to say that we do need to bring in some experienced players as well. But for me personally, I just care about bringing in good quality players, because nobody talks about inexperience and age when it comes to Lenny Yoro, because Lenny Yoro is a good player. They only talk about age and inexperience when it comes to like Hojlund and Garnacho, Mainu, players like that, well, maybe they're just not good enough players for United. Whereas Lenny Yoro's age never gets kind of spoken about as well, because he's just a very good player. And sometimes you can find good players that are young. And that's what it would be about. It's about the level of quality in the player, not just about their age. But I do get your kind of viewpoint. I do think that there is an argument to say that we do need a bit more experience, but we also just need good players. And if they're good players, I'm not necessarily bothered about the age of the player. I think if you've got quality, then you've got quality. And PSG have been very good at recruiting good quality young players. Yes, they're inexperienced, but they might just about to make a Champions League final. So that kind of dismisses the experience kind of talk, because they've got a very young team and they've just got very good players. They're young, but they're good. And that's the kind of key for me personally. That's just my personal thoughts on that situation. But going back to the Luis Campos story, so Luis Campos is still in talks over a new PSG contract. He is not an option for Manchester United despite links. So literally within like half an hour of all this break-in and everyone getting excited online and posting all the nonsense around, all the stuff around that, look at the signings that he's made and stuff like that as well. Literally, Ben Jacobs come out about half an hour or an hour later saying, yep, no, he's still in talks about renewing his PSG contract. And then Fabrizio Romano said exactly the same. Muppeteers, like all the kind of bigger hitters, come out and said, yeah, no, he's not in negotiations with Manchester United. So that flushed that story straight down the toilet and threw it in the BS bin straight away. I mean, it would be great, but yeah, not going to happen. And then this story, very similar as well. So Manchester United looks set to appoint former Chelsea Academy chief Jim Fraser. So Jim Ratcliffe sees him as a key capture as United plan to sign leading young talent. Fraser boasts a huge reputation for unearthing top young stars. Now, that came from Reluctant Nick, who's fairly decent, but works for The Sun, suggesting that United were looking to get former Chelsea Academy chief Jim Fraser, who's got a very good reputation as well for bringing in young players and developing them. Obviously Chelsea's recruitment is way better than Man United's as well, so I wouldn't be against kind of bringing him in. But Academy Scoop, who I would say is probably more credible than The Sun, suggesting that sources have denied rumours linking Jim Fraser to a new position at Manchester United. So this really kind of weird situation where we got linked with Luis Campos and Jim Fraser to kind of come in, but then both have been pretty much dismissed as well, which is really weird. Like the kind of belief is obviously Vivel's just been given his position permanently. We know we are kind of making a few changes regarding the scouting, and there's more 200 odd jobs. I think that going to be kind of gone coming up soon as well, which is never nice. But we know we've recruited a new person to come in to start the data analysis as well, and United are apparently happy with Wilcox and Vivel doing everything. So we might not have a sporting director, because we might just use those two to do what they're doing behind the scenes as well. But yeah, really weird situation, that one. Give us your thoughts in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.